Manasseh Azure Awuni was an investigative journalist. Abusiafo wabo His Excellency John Mahama baso se wa cancel SML deal no. Na sa SML deal no or say after say His Excellency John Mahama ewo damia cancel no ya save the nation around $500 million. Abusiafo enye sika kitwa kra na maboso no. Wodi munchemu aba kwa fa so cover sa rot na ekoso with regards to the SML deal. Ken Ofori-Atta-led sa enso and former President Akufo-Addo Manasseh Azure yabate nka enchehye so ahaye na Jan TV abusiafo me pacho click subscribe button mam sia we are bell notification icon no obetene no say there be a video no drop here you be the first person to get it na the only say video no be enjoy it wo hwe nyina wo like it no leave you comment in the comment section after so wa share na for so anya bi ahwe the only say Kisi Ajaben a special prosecutor obekaya 3 days ago no be a press conference ana unveil the new scandal we almost say SML deal around $500 million. Na Kisi Ajaben e kasano obo abranti be friend Manasseh Azure abaso one the fourth estate then that time na our fourth estate hon no did juma. They say ameno ka say only fourth estate BM but I mean Manasseh Azure akasa medical that just say obe breaking news in say His Excellency John Mahama I cancel that particular deal with SML. Me the hon sem eba but e din kan obi bebusa say SML deal no free fa ne bai then Ken Ofori-Atta-led sa enso so na former President Akufo-Addo Manasseh Azure ekopie mu e wo channel 1 TV mo program friend the big issue one Omar Sanda or the munchiremu eba yenko te Manasseh Azure beba me sa bo munchiremu na fei eniema wo chiro Facebook abaso ba odema President John Mahama any amount ankasa state na save from this deal no beba Manasseh Azure Awuni on the big issue on channel 1 TV.
Then what did you find?
Well, thank you very much. My in-law, Honorable Buama, would tell you I have been interested in the affairs of, let's say, revenue and done some work many years ago with, not with, but on transactions that affected revenue in the GRA. And then at the end of the day, and well, let me say my in-law because my wife is from the Western region, so
it's good you
have a way of doing things. By tomorrow, you find out somewhere that yeah.
I was actually preparing a blog about that. So I was going to say Manasseh marries MP's daughter, but it's okay. You continue.
Oh, my wife even asking me, who else do you have apart from me?
So your problems are big. Yes.
Yes, but I started having an interest in this matter when there were reports that some oil marketing companies, and by oil marketing companies, I mean those who sell to us at the fuel pumps, they lift the petroleum products from the depots. And every liter that you lift, there are tax components on the tax and revenue components. Some go to the GRA, others go to the MPA. So you are supposed to sell, take your margins, pay the owner of the petroleum product, and then give the tax component to the government. But many of these shady OMCs often absconded after selling and then making their profit. So systems started getting in place, and one of the systems was something they call the Enterprise Relational Database Management System, ERDMS, which is a platform, an online platform, which ensures that if anybody wants to load a petroleum product anywhere in this country, whether you are loading gasoline or diesel from Tema, Bupe, Kumasi or Takrade, you go onto this system and then place the order. This order will be vetted by the MPA and the GRA. So if you loaded your previous one and then you were due to bring the money to the state and you have not paid, you'll be blocked out from loading again. This system is linked to the customs system, which they call ICOMS. And also it records the volumes that are lifted at the various depots. And if you go to every depot in this country, you would have customs officials there. So they have the keys to the depots. So if the owner of the petroleum product is there and the buyers are there, and then you don't have the GRA officials, customs officials, that they will not lift. Then there was an issue of diversion, which was often cheated, or people cheated the system using the UPPF system that ensures that a liter of petroleum product in Accra sells the same as the price in Bolga, because there is a system to flatten out transportation cost. So some would load and claim that they are going to discharge in Bolga and end up discharging in Sawam, but taking the amount that should have accrued if they had taken the product to Bolga. So the MPA introduced a tracking system. So if you go to the MPA today and anybody loads petroleum products in any tanker, an electronic seal is placed on that vehicle, so that if you don't get your destination and you tamper with the seal, it sends an automatic alarm to the MPA. Your location is detected and you can be arrested. So if you go to the MPA today, you will see live tracking of vehicles that are in Burkina Faso, Mali, Eastern region, everywhere in this country. So that is checking. Fuel marking system, also another company to check the dilution of petroleum products. So all these systems were put in place to ensure that the state's interest is protected, and then the revenue that is due us is collected. In our investigation, we asked the GRA officials, head of petroleum, Mr. Samson Enim, who said that with the ERDMS, it ensures that the GRA is able to track its volumes. And once you're able to track your volumes, you're able to collect the appropriate taxes. Besides all of these, we found out that another company by name SML, now we know that it used to be SMEL, smell, and perhaps they didn't like the smell of it, so they changed it to SML, which has still not taken the smell away anyway. But this company claimed to be doing under the checking under declaration, diversion, dilution, and it stated these functions on its website. That this is what it did, and it stemmed the tide in the downstream petroleum sector. When we finished our investigation, we went to SML and we actually first interviewed the GRA officials, who said that no, SML was not performing these functions. So the day my team went to interview SML, there were at least 6 or so officials from the customs division of the GRA. We went together, including the head of the department. And they even started a conversation that Manasseh and his people say, you are doing ABC. And SML said, no, we never stated that. So I went to their website and read it to them. And they admitted, well, it may have been a mistake, somebody put it there. So by the close of the day, the company took this out of their website. So that tells you that the downstream petroleum sector that the company claimed to be providing those services, it wasn't doing any of them. Then there were 2 other contracts at the ports that SML had: external price verification and transaction audits. And I don't want to speak so much about whether or not those functions were also giving us value for money. This is what the president's white paper, and I'm talking about President Akufo-Addo's white paper from the KPMG report, said of this contract: that the transaction audits and external price verification services may also be terminated. According to KPMG's findings, GRA obtained partial value or benefit from those services. This was also due to a lack of monitoring on the part of GRA to ensure that SML performed the services as stipulated in the contracts. KPMG, and this is the important part, KPMG's investigations found that GRA has introduced external price verification tools as part of ICONS, among its other functions. This renders reliance on SML for external price verification redundant. These are not my words, these are the words of the Presidency of the Republic of Ghana at the time of President Akufo-Addo, based on the KPMG findings. And these two contracts were terminated. It is interesting to say that these services that we are told were redundant, the country has paid SML 506 million Ghana cedis for these services. 506 million Ghana cedis for services that the president said were redundant because customs was already doing it. And when in our investigation we said that the services were not needed, people questioned it is one of them. And two, the downstream petroleum measurement audit, we know that the measurement SML was doing, GRA was not using them for revenue purposes. GRA was using the existing meters that were there before SML was introduced. Those are the meter readings GRA used for its taxes. Then in 2023, in June, despite adequate evidence that this company was doing practically nothing to add value to the state, the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, caused a letter to be written. And that letter, I just want to read. It was written on the dated 22nd June 2023. The title is Expansion of the Scope of Work by Mrs. Strategic Mobilization Limited. And this letter is signed by Ernest Akore, Chief of the Cabinet, who we are now told is at large with Ken Ofori-Atta. The letter says, the Honorable Minister has determined that there is a need to monitor the production and shipment of gold and oil out of the country. To this end, he would like to expand the scope of the revenue assurance work being performed by SML to include petroleum oil drilling by the oil production companies and the gold mining companies. This contract was eventually signed in October 2023. And it is instructive to know the keywords. It is the minister who determined, because the Minerals Commission and the Petroleum Commission, when we wrote to them, they said they knew nothing about them, these deals, because they were or are still regulators of these sectors. Then it is the minister who decided, Ken Ofori-Atta, that the scope should be expanded. The expansion had a clause that dealt with the payment, that every barrel of oil Ghana produced, SML should be entitled to $0.75. And when we did a calculation per the production quantities, this was translating to about $120,000 every single day with drilled oil. Then in the mining sector, we were told that contract said 0.75% of total production of gold. If you look at the billions of dollars that gold is giving us this year because of the gold prices and increment of the production and everything, SML would just have been making millions of dollars for works that we do not know, because the revenue has increased in the sector without SML's contract being implemented, and the company would have taken credit. So when we did our calculation, this company was to be entitled to over $100 million every single year. And if you take the first 5 years of the contract, we are talking of over $500 million. And now that gold prices are skyrocketing, our estimates then, I think, were even too conservative. So this is what the contract is about. Services that the company was performing, which were redundant because existing systems were already in place. And then Ken Ofori-Atta again wanted us to increase it. And when we asked SML whether in their revenue assurance operations, there had been a single situation when they caught a company, an oil marketing company, doing something that was illegal, they said no, not once did they ever flag a company. So the assumption and the issue that we came to stop the leakages, it is false. GRA officials, customs officials are working very hard at every single depot. If they do not open the valve, you cannot load. There are already meters there calibrated by the Ghana Standards Authority, and these meters are more accurate than the meters of SML. So the question is, why pay over 1.4 billion cedis to a company whose services lack value for money? A company which the PPA denied single source approval on 3 separate occasions because it said SML did not have any experience or capacity to deliver. And we wrote to the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana. Their act says that to provide services of auditing and accountancy, you should be licensed by the institute. If you fail to obtain a license, you could be fined, jailed, or both. And we asked, does SML have the license to do these works? The letter they responded to us said no. So many violations of the law, many breaches of common sense, and it appeared people who were behind this deal did not act in the interest of the state. And finally, it is interesting to add that a former head of legal at the GRA now works for SML. The former technical advisor to the Commissioner General of the GRA, Christian Tetesoti, now works for SML. The former Commissioner of Customs, Isaac Krensel of the GRA, now works for SML. So even if the service was needed, the question we should be asking is, if you had the capacity to manage these revenue assurance services and you were at GRA, why did you outsource it to another company? And then when you left GRA, you went to that company to provide those same services to the GRA. So, Sandra, these are some of the sticking points of this that has been thankfully cancelled by President John Mahama, and I highly recommend him for commend him for such an action.
Your in-law has been laughing and smiling in the studio, asking why, because it sounds as if he's not agreeing with you. But to sum up,
nti Manasseh egusu ebosa nchiremu no ana Omar Sanda ebusa na say Manasseh we are sure say SML group na omunye certified enough no omuni experience o bet medicine adwuma no ana Manasseh say there be o. In fact, company no omu register so omu create no Vows Day 2017. So 14 February 2017 no mu create SML as a company. Now who said no omuni abako sembia with regards to handling big contract. Eti anyone was say what the contract mema jumakua omuni experience in that field and omuni experience when it comes to such big contract. Eti Manasseh esa de munchemu ebai ema ye hu ade contract GRA and SML for enema omoye fast deal amo miners. See I even know say President John Mahama I can see you doing Manasseh Azure Awuni once again on Channel 1 TV on the Big Issue program.
Why they were created, but I know they were created immediately after this the MPP came into office, and I know when we asked them, and the company was formed in 2017, so we are in the 8th year now, and what we know is that this company doesn't have any other contract apart from GRA. It doesn't perform any other service to anybody. The only other time we found some workers of the SML trying to get to the airport was a certain company owned by the same SML man, Evans Eduse, got a revenue assurance contract at the airport, and this company is actually a mining company with only one employee, hadn't paid taxes for 2 or so years. Senate filing showed that he had only one employee, and we tried to realize that when it finally won the contract, SML people were going to. So I don't know exactly why they formed this company, but from the transactions I have seen, the works and the payment they have received, it is not something I would do in all good conscience.
So they don't have a track record of having worked anywhere. They have not, prior to the time they were given this contract, existed.
Not at all. This contract, sorry, the company was formed on Valentine's Day.
Oh, really?
Of 2017. And they started getting very sweetheart deals from the government.
So it was a beautiful gift to the country.
Let me say, only the GRA, the PPA on 3 separate occasions rejected single source approval for this company. And the reason was that they have no track record anywhere.
Okay.
And the Ken Ofori-Atta we know, who has built successful businesses, would not use his own resources or the resources of his companies to engage in these services.
Very well.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Manasseh, please stay with me. I'm going to engage.
So let me give you this example. If 2 people have stolen.
Manasseh, he said he apologized to you for not giving you filler when you needed the filler. Today he has gone to church and he has seen God. He has seen Jesus. So journey to Damascus moment. He said he's sorry. Please forgive him.
Well, I have never held anything against him. I like his honesty to tell me that, look, I have information, but I'm conflicted, so I cannot talk to you.
Okay.
That is absolutely fine. I don't hold anything against him. 2, the example I was giving is if 2 thieves have been charged with conniving to steal, and then they are about to be prosecuted, and one of them says, oh, the other did not steal, or we did not steal, I don't think these words should carry any weight. GRA is as complicit as SML. So if GRA comes out to say, well, they've done some work, it doesn't make any difference. I've read what President Akufo-Addo said, and the GRA has not denied it. Mr. Buama has not denied it. That you have icons that is giving you a service, and you don't need anybody to verify. We had all of this in our story. Yet you are paying someone, you pay someone over 500 million cedis. When the KPMG report came and the president said this, you did not argue. You quietly went and then canceled the contract. GRA and some of its officials have been lying to Ghanaians that if SML is terminated, they are not going to work. Half of 2024, SML did not work either downstream, anywhere, the ports, because President Akufo-Addo suspended the contract for audits. The board chairman of GRA, the Honorable Joe Gatti, said the first half of 2024, the GRA exceeded its target in a historic manner. So if you have a company that you claim you couldn't do anything if they were taken off, this is a GRA speaking. And let me say, some of the things they say make the GRA, hard-working GRA workers, customs officials, they make them look so stupid and incompetent. Because they are there at every port, they are there at every depot. So this is not true.
So they were doing the work and someone else was being paid?
And taking credit for it. Since June, when the OSP started, and then SML was shut down, they should tell us which revenue has been lost in the downstream sector. Which single day did people go there they could not load because SML was not working?
Eti abusiafo Manasseh wie no. Ana oko Facebook. Na Edin can say no breaking story no. Na Manasseh na ni agye pa because so here investigative journalism. Na so bamfa so a also uma woni gye. It gives you inner satisfaction. Enti obeka nso Manasseh nso so one ne fourth estate. Satan no fourth estate. Si America se woni hobium o amanone. Ba Satan no fourth estate no. Kiseja being special prosecutor. In a press conference, no, almost special mention. So, and a shasi ma you who say, sa dream nikata shebi say air cost with SML deal. No, now saying a Manasseh echo Facebook after President John Mahama ordered say cancel SML deal. No, say President John Mahama has ordered the immediate cancellation of all SML contracts following the completion of work by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Now, the cancellation means the downstream petroleum sector, the upstream petroleum sector, and the mining sector contracts that entitled SML to a fixed revenue would not be implemented. Now, the consolidated SML contract from all the sectors was worth over $500 million. According to Manasseh Azure Awuni, or say Sika involved in this deal, $500 million. In fact, or say over $500 million for the first 5 years, and it was to be renewable for another 5 years. That's a contract, 10 years. 5 years, $500 million. That's a 10 years, you know. Hey. I guess $1 billion. Anyway, I thank my colleagues Akufo-Addo and Evans Aziama Mensah, with whom I investigated a dubious deal masterminded by the fugitive Ken Ofori-Atta, former finance minister. I also thank President John Mahama for acting on his promise in 2024 that the NDC government under him would not recognize the shady SML deals. Ochro we no anije na broso ndo sa kocho biem say over $500 million or 5 billion Ghana cedis plus has been saved from the cancellation of SML's dubious contracts 1 day at a time. The last post and it said just 48 hours ago, just 20 hours ago, Osabecho Facebook say, "Dear President John Mahama, thank you again. Yours sincerely, Manasseh." Nature say, "Nani aje say ya cancel deal no." Into your investigative journalism na so bamfa so a inner satisfaction aya unya na busiafo yen famunsia enchena na kodwo janto de sekato man mo bete nka minim the video make what do you make of the video mpacho leave your comment in the comment section afenso we are obehye na foforo so anya bia hwe besa ni madi hyemu biem on the sekato show midi e de Stephen Zando ye besa hye biem makramo bye bye.